You know my next guest for his Oscar-nominated role as Lieutenant Dan in the 1994 blockbuster Forrest Gump. He's also an Emmy winner, family man, a bassist in a rock band, and most notably the founder of an organization working on behalf of our nation's fighting men and women. I spoke exclusively with Gary Sinise earlier. He was being given a very special award by the National Association of Broadcasters. The Service to America Leadership Award. This is really for your work with the vets. What does this mean to you?
Well, any acknowledgement that shines a light on me can also shine a light on what we're doing, which is trying to help our veterans. And so, you know, while I'm not certainly seeking any acknowledgement or anything like that, the fact that it comes is a nice thing, and I'm grateful for it. What I've really tried to use my celebrity for, and the public platform that I have, is to draw attention to something, and that's what this will definitely help me do that. It's an encouragement and an incentive to keep going and doing at it, and that people are you know, actually see what we're doing out there.
Well, it's a beautiful work. I want to get into some of it. I cannot believe you and the Lieutenant Dan Band do 50+ events a year on military installations, charity events, all over the place. You were doing this, though, back in the 70s, before it was the Lieutenant Dan Band. What was the first impetus for this? I mean, you were playing events for Vietnam vets, I read.
Well, yeah, back in the late 70s, early 80s, I wasn't actually playing events with a band at that point, but I was supporting Vietnam veterans groups in the Chicago area. I have Vietnam veterans in my family. On my wife's side of the family, Moira's 2 brothers served in Vietnam. One was a helicopter pilot. The other was a West Point graduate, company commander, with 2 tours, lieutenant and captain. Wow. And then he taught at West Point as a major. He was teaching at Fort Leavenworth when he was in the early 80s. He was diagnosed with cancer. He passed away as a lieutenant colonel, but he was, I learned a lot from him, and I learned a lot from my brother-in-law, Jack, who recently also passed away of cancer last October. But he was a combat medic in Vietnam, and he served in the Army for 22 years. And he's married to my wife's sister, and their son is currently serving. So I have a lot of veterans around me, and got involved with veterans back in the 80s and 90s, and now here
Continued.
I am. Yeah.
What keeps you going? 50 events a year. I mean, that's a pretty grueling schedule with a band, and it's not, you know, you're flying to places like, you know, South Korea and right on the border there. I know you recently crossed over. What drives you personally?
Well, it's the men and women who serve are the ones that have inspired me. I've met extraordinary people, and you know, they get hurt sometimes, and we lose them. Yeah. Sometimes, and there are a lot of families out there that are suffering because they've lost a daddy, you know, or a mom.
Has it changed you? You as a person, being near them, watching this level of sacrifice?
Oh, sure, yeah. No, I felt after September 11th, I knew there was a way that I could serve and a way that I could help. And it was troubling to me to think that what happened to our Vietnam veterans, as I mentioned, Vietnam veterans that I'd worked with, what happened to them, it was troubling to think that that would happen again to our returning Iraq and Afghanistan veterans. And so I wanted to do everything I could to prevent that from happening and make sure that they knew that we were not going to forget about them when they're over in Iraq or in the war zones of Afghanistan. We were appreciative of what they were doing, and that when they came home, they were going to have support and gratitude and maybe a little entertainment and you know, whatever we could do to help.
And the Gary Sinise Foundation, not only do you entertain, you reach out to these people in their need, these veterans. One of the things you're doing that I didn't know anything about, you all have begun creating smart homes for many of our wounded warriors who come back. Tell me about these. You've opened up, what, almost 35 of them now, or you're on track?
There's various projects in various phases of development. In fact, just today we gave away a home up in Minnesota to a triple amputee and his wife. Happily, they're pregnant and they're expecting a baby. They have a new house, so there's a lot to look forward to there. This smart technology house will provide an opportunity for this particular Marine to be more independent within his own house. He's only got one hand. He can get up on legs and kind of walk, not necessarily really comfortably on prosthetic legs, but he does. And they're a wonderful couple. Last week we gave, just recently we gave another house away to a very badly wounded service member out in California. We're doing this all around the country, trying to help as many of these real-life Lieutenant Dans as we can out there. I learned a lot from doing that part, working with the Disabled American Veterans Organization and meeting lots of wounded service members from various wars, beginning at that point. This was, you know, when I got involved with the DAV, it was in the 1994. So we were dealing with World War II, Korea, Vietnam, Desert Storm, and all the other small conflicts in between. We have a lot of wounded out there, and now we have this entire new generation of Lieutenant Dan Taylors out there who are even more severely injured than Lieutenant Dan, who lost both his legs.
Tell me, we had the honor again of attending the Memorial Day concert here in D.C. on the Mall, and you and Mr. Colbert and Joe Mantegna always do such an incredible job. This year, it really, at least to my eyes, it reminded me of the sacrifice that I guess you just don't think about, not of our servicemen and women, but of their families, who not only do without them during the tour of duty, but sometimes do without them for a lifetime. What is your organization doing? What is the VA and our government not doing that we should all be focused on for those families left behind?
Well, there's a lot that's being done, and you know, but there's a lot of need also, and there's sometimes catastrophic needs because some of our wounded are so badly damaged that it affects the entire family. They're going through post-traumatic stress and various challenges because they become the full-time caregiver of somebody who can't take care of himself. We have some very, very severely, badly wounded service members who have no ability to care for themselves, so they have to be totally taken care of by their young little girl and their wife or mother, and in some cases whoever it is. So that really, it spreads out and affects the entire family. We're trying to fill those gaps where the care and the needs are unmet, and we try to do what we can for them. There's way too many Gold Star children who have lost a mom or dad in the war. You saw the story of two children in the Memorial Day concert. I work with a great organization called TAPS, Tragedy Assistance Program for Survivors. This was started in the 90s by a woman who lost her husband. And it's a grief management and grief assistance program and another organization called Snowball Express, which is specifically targets the children of our fallen. I've been involved with both these organizations for a number of years, trying to draw attention to them. Before I even had my own foundation, I was just trying to support as many of these military charities that were popping up post 9/11 as possible.
Because there was such a need out there.
Oh, there's a great need out there.
Is there a connection between this advocacy and your faith? Our viewers know you're a Catholic convert. You've spoken about it on the show before. Do you feel that connection?
I do. Service is a service above self. It's a big part of our faith, and I get, you know, I was on Bill O'Reilly once, and he said, "Why are you doing this?" and everything. I said, I get such spiritual nourishment," and he goes, "Spiritual nourishment." But the fact is that it's rewarding.
It is spiritual nourishing.
It's nourishing because I see so many people that are in such need, and I have been so blessed in my life. And when we were attacked on September 11th, the Catholic Church became this haven of protection, our little Catholic church in our little town. And I got a lot of support there just by going there through what was a difficult time for our nation, but I was just in anguish and wanted to do something. And I just eventually, when we started deploying to Iraq and Afghanistan, I just felt called there. Go, try to help these men and women who are responding to these attacks and try to do whatever you can for them.
Yeah, and you've certainly done that in such a beautiful way. It's Father's Day weekend, so I've got to talk about that for a moment. Your father is still with us. He was a film editor, your father, right. Robert. Tell me what he's left you, the lesson that he passed to you that you recall most.
Gosh, Dad was always, he worked very, very hard. He came from a working class family in Blue Island, Illinois. His father, my grandfather, worked on the Indiana Beltline Railroad. And he was a working kid. He went, I think, 1 semester to college and then joined the Navy. Wow. And my dad was in the Navy in the early 50s. When I was born, in fact, he was still in the Navy when I was born. So I guess I'm a Navy brat.
There you go.
And he was stationed right here in D.C. And at one point they asked Dad, when he was a young guy, do you want to go on a ship or do you want to be a photographer? And my dad said, I'll be a photographer. So
smart man.
He learned photography, and he ended up working in the film labs during the Korean War, processing top secret films that were coming back from the front. So he was seeing all of this, and he was in the lab. And then when he got out of the Navy, he went into the film business in Chicago and was one of the first independent editors in the city of Chicago, worked his way up, started his own business. And he always tried to provide for our family beyond his means. Just somebody who wanted to always give his family more than he really could afford.
Was his profession your first sort of attractiveness to this calling of yours?
I guess if you track it, I remember being a little kid, and in those days the editors would work on moviolas, do you remember? Yeah. Where the film would just spill out onto the floor and it'd be all over. And I remember being 5 years old, and he'd be editing something in his office and have me there with him, and the film would be everywhere, and I'd be watching it spit out of the moviola and that kind of thing. So I guess that was my first taste of show business, but it was really, I really got involved in acting in high school. Right. When I started doing plays in high school.
Right. Well, you've done such an incredible job. You are now...
So can I say Happy Father's Day?
You may, please.
Happy Father's Day, Dad. I love you.
Oh, that's nice. You are now going back again before the cameras. You're doing a new show for CBS, playing a Law and Order man again. Can you tell me anything about it?
I can, yes. We did a pilot for Criminal Minds. We actually shot the pilot, and it was an episode of the Criminal Minds series right toward the end of the season in April. And it introduced an international division of the FBI, which was the team that I brought in, because there was a case that involved something that happened in Florida and also something that happened in Barbados, and they were linked. So they called in the international team to work with the domestic team. So the episode took place in Barbados. That introduced our team, and CBS picked it up. And so it's going to be called Criminal Minds Beyond Borders, because every episode will take place in a different country. This is the international division of the BAU, and we will chase, you know, psychotic bad guys that are placing Americans in jeopardy all around the world, and we'll go get them.
How do you balance this and the workload of a weekly series with all of your obligations now with your foundation? Because I know you dedicate so much time to these one-on-one visits, whether it's here in Bethesda or playing for our troops abroad on base. How do you balance that?
It takes a lot. There's a lot of air miles, and
I noticed.
I've learned how to sleep on airplanes and that kind of thing. But when I was shooting CSI New York for 9 seasons, I was traveling on the weekends all the time to try to get a lot of that. That was the time I was actually doing 50 shows a year while I was shooting the TV show. I've tried to cut that back because I've had to add other types of events. Right. We have so many wonderful partners supporting our foundation, the National Wood Flooring Association, Cisco, the food company, they donate food for our hospital shows. American Airlines provides tickets so I can take my band here and there. Benjamin Moore Paint, even, they're going to help us with a lot of our houses with the paint. There are a lot of people that are coming on board to help us. I have a great board of directors, and so I have to do various events, you know, for a lot of different things. So I've had to cut back the band shows, increase some of the other types of events, the fundraisers and other types of events. We'll just find the way to manage it when I go back to work on Criminal Minds Beyond Borders, and
it'll all work out.
the studio and the producers are already on board, and they're going to help me keep going.
Well, Gary Sinise, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for your work, and I hope you keep going a long time, and congratulations on the award.